I want to talk now a little bit about NMU's response to executive orders coming from Washington, D.C., and the Trump administration, specifically executive orders related to DEI matters. And I have probably about 15 minutes of comments. Did get some outreach from a number of people on campus about how best to organize a forum like this, and I'm going to do my best to stay at a high enough level that I can move through all of these and then respond as much as I can, to questions after I'm done with my comments. What you have today, and what I'm going to walk through, is the result of what we've been thinking of as kind of an internal inventory or audit of a wide range of university policies, practices, offices, programs related to DEI. And it's been rigorous. It's been something that's cut across all areas of the university. It's engaged much analysis and kind of strategic thinking along the way. I want to be clear, and some of this is because of my particular situation. What I'm going to outline is not dependent on sort of my personal thinking, or it's not something that is transient and I think will become fluid again upon my departure. This reflects very deep collaborative thinking among our entire leadership team. I think many folks from our executive council are present, and I want you all to know as I outline these things that these reflect the thinking of the entire executive council, a lot of collaboration with our legal counsel, and of course collaboration with folks who lead in different areas that may have been impacted across campus. A second thing that I want to say as kind of a precursor, and I shared this with our students and faculty and staff last Thursday night at the Student Leadership Recognition Banquet. Sometimes it doesn't feel like this, but in fact, all of us in this room, students, staff, faculty, administrators, community members, you're here because you care deeply about the university. You may be here because you care deeply about the subject matter at hand. And what I told the students last week was that in that moment, last Thursday night, we were talking about all of their dreams, their passions. Different student organizations were being recognized, different events, initiatives being recognized. And all of that reflected this kind of deep passion that those students felt for one thing or another. And they're all headed off in different directions with their careers, whether it's in business, in the health professions, nonprofits of various sorts, whatever it is. But it was all about passion and commitment, and the deep commitment to something that you really, really want to spend your life doing. And I shared with them that they should be happy because the staff and faculty and administrators in that room, they had those moments where the light bulb went on for them. We've had those moments. I've had that moment. And we've all decided that what we care about most is public education, serving students, creating a vibrant atmosphere for learning and working. And it's easy to forget sometimes when you're here as a student or a faculty member or a community member or an administrator that we have that shared bond. And I want you to know that as we discussed a lot of our response, that commitment, that passion was very much on display. And I feel very proud to stand here being able to make the comments I'm about to make. And it's not because of the comments themselves, it's about the process that we used to get here. Okay, so the bottom line and the headline, in my opinion, is that after this audit and analysis, keeping in mind the extent to which the executive orders cover a number of areas within diversity, equity, and inclusion, Northern Michigan University has been, more or less since our founding, but certainly is today, and will continue to be in compliance with the executive orders coming from Washington, D.C. And that is because we have not, and we do not discriminate on behalf of someone's race, gender, sexual orientation, religious preferences. And that's true across our policies, it's true across our admissions practices, our housing practices, the way things work in and outside the classroom. That is the headline, that's the bottom line, and it's important to underscore that very definitively. That said, we've also been a university that over the last 125 years has made adjustments and adaptations and really evolved, always with our mission in mind, always with our mission in mind. And so it's okay for us to continue to evolve with that mission in mind. And what I'm going to outline, I think, and I believe, allows us to make some adaptations and adjustments to clarify how we pursue our mission, but it reflects the fact that Northern Michigan University is in compliance with existing executive orders. And the stakes are high here. I think y'all are here because you've been students of the context we're in, whether it's political, cultural, or whatnot, but I want to not gloss over that. The stakes are incredibly high. If we think about federal funding, for example, at Northern Michigan University, and I have some figures in front of me. About $45 million out of our $180 million annual budget is connected to federal funding sources. So, yeah, and we have on top of that a number of major federal programs like the EAN and RIP and Replace program that serve the Upper Peninsula that are dependent on federal funding. So that's about between 25 and 30% of our budget. And I say that I mean, it's not scary, it's just a statement of fact. And I think it really highlights the reality, which is that we are a public institution and we're connected financially and otherwise to the expectations of the federal government. And I would add to that of the state taxpayers and stakeholders that we serve as well. And in a world where federal funding were cut or restricted, there would be significant consequences for NMU. Not consequences around the edges like, less pizza at the buffet, but consequences in terms of programming, staffing, faculty positions on our campus. So the stakes are certainly high. We also know that action around the executive orders and the Dear Colleague letter, for that matter, it is not just talk. And it's action that's not been restricted just to the Columbia universities and Penn, Penns of the world. It is extensive. We know that across the country, 60 universities are under investigation for their participation in various federal programs, particular graduate programs that were sort of alleged to discriminate based on race. And some of those universities are close to home. Grand Valley State University, kind of peer-ish institutions. So this is a real significant moment for us to tackle head on. And the way we tackle things head on is by exerting agency and not sitting and waiting for things to happen to us, waiting and responding in the aftermath. But Northern has always been about proactive agency-related approaches. And I think that what we have today is a reflection of that. So when we talk about DEI, and in particular when we talk about diversity and inclusion on our campus, one of the things that is important to keep in mind is sort of what we mean. Because this all starts with what exactly is diversity, what is inclusion on our campus. And there are lots of different ways for us to think about these concepts. But put very simply and concisely, diversity being the presence of different human characteristics in a given environment. And that could be race, it could be intellectual perspective, it could be gender, sexual orientation, origins in an urban versus a rural, remote community. And inclusion is the extent to which people of various types of differences feel as if they belong in a certain context. So I think it's really important to just stick with what we mean when we talk about diversity and inclusion on our campus. In order to look at topics in this area, I've said we kind of went through what we consider to be an audit, an inventory of programs, practices, policies, procedures. And what our team did is think about all of those kind of gridded out in general terms, kind of Areas highlighted as areas for immediate action, and you could think of these kind of like red highlight areas. These are things where we're going to tackle right away. There's kind of yellow highlighted areas where we may not need to take action right now, but we certainly want to consider what the right approach is in a given area. And then kind of green light areas are areas where we just feel like we're going to move forward and not make any changes in those areas. We don't need to spend more time contemplating those changes. So, as I mentioned, again, the headline from that audit is that NMU is in compliance. We do not have processes and procedures that are based on race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion to the exclusion of other groups. We have many programs and practices that highlight opportunities in those areas that are open to all. And that is a key thing to keep in mind. We don't have programs or practices in those areas that are exclusive to other groups. I think you all know that while we have progress to make, we are an inclusive university. We've prided ourselves on that for many years, and I think we continue to make positive progress. And this may set us aside from some of our peer institutions. It is the case that other institutions who had moved in certain ways related to DEI have had to make much more significant changes because, I mean, to put it bluntly, they were not in compliance with the federal executive orders. And I would distinguish us from that group of universities. I want to remind myself to take a sip of drink to make it through the rest of these comments. Okay, so let me start with areas where we do not need to make any changes, okay? And I think I'm going to try to put as much emphasis on this as possible because I think it's really important and maybe of interest to many people in the room. We're not making any changes to any academic programs or courses. Academic freedom is a bedrock principle at Northern. It is a bedrock principle across many institutions, and we feel and we are confident that the way we pursue things in the classroom, instruction, course development, whether it's general education or a major degree program, it's an area where we make decisions, our faculty make decisions based on academic principles. And so the subject of academic freedom, I think, is an area that is left entirely untouched. No academic programs or courses will be altered. There are some places, you look at a place like Florida or Texas, for example, where there have been more changes made academically, and that is because there are specific state-level laws that have allowed the states to insert themselves into academic decisions, and that is not the case in Michigan. And so, period, full stop, no changes to any academic programs or courses. Admissions. NMU has never used race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion in our admission selection process. If you've heard me talk at all over the last couple of years, you know that one of the great points of pride that I have in being president here, that I think the university has had and will continue to have, is really an open door to all kinds of students. And what that means is there'll be no alteration to any of our admissions processes. That's in compliance with Michigan state law. It's part of the Michigan Constitution. It has been part of our policy for many years. It will continue to be. University financial aid. Again, we've never used race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or any demographic factor in university-based financial aid. So we have no changes to make in our financial aid policy. We did look through our donor-funded scholarships. So these are private scholarships, individual donors who want to support our efforts to make college more affordable for students. And we have 5 donor-funded scholarships, and we're going to go back to donors in those areas and ask them to really kind of clarify their intention and rework, if they like, rework the award criteria. This will still allow any kind of student to apply for scholarships that are relevant to them, but it'll make sure we don't risk losing that support simply because of a language issue with the scholarship itself. So even our donor-funded scholarships don't use race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion in the selection process. Across the board, our university policies, I want to give a big shout out. I don't know whether Jill Compton is here. She's always, there she is. So Jill, thank you. To you and your team in working with folks across campus to make sure that our university policies are all in compliance with state and federal laws, and so there are no changes necessary in any of those policies. Okay, so please note that area, no changes. And happy to answer more questions about that after I'm done here in a few minutes. I'll move on to another area where we're not making changes, but we also want to make sure that we explain why we're not making changes at this time. So again, no changes in this set of items. Near and dear to many of us, of course, the NMU Center for Native American Studies. The center has been on NMU's campus informally since the 1970s and formally since 1996. So we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of CNAS. It houses our Native American academic programs through the Native American Studies Department. No changes being made to the Center for Native American Studies, which does such terrific work across our campus. The way that we collect information, demographic data collection. So if you check your race or your gender or demographic boxes in some of our forms, the way we collect that now is because we have to collect it to be in compliance with federal and state laws, and that's because of the reporting we have to do as a public institution. So we collect it now, we use it in compliance with state and federal laws. So we don't use that information to select students into certain programs or to make them eligible for certain opportunities that are exclusive and not available to other students. So if we need to down the road, these are things we could have to change. But as of now, we don't have to make any changes in that area. We may add some language just clarifying that we're only collecting this information for reporting purposes and not to use it in order to make other decisions on campus. Student organizations. Every single one of our student organizations has open membership. So we have student organizations on our campus that kind of identify or advertise themselves based on race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. But that doesn't mean that they exclude students if the students don't prescribe to whatever that identity is. That's a really important thing for me to clarify. And so there will be no changes or eliminations to any student organization on our campus. What we will do is just make sure that everyone knows that. I think everyone knows that, but we'll just make sure that people know our student organizations are open to all. And I think anything over the last several months aside, that's just really important anyway. I think it's one of the great points of pride for this university is the vibrancy of our student org kind of ecosystem, and really excited to see that continue to grow. Within our student programs, and this isn't a program run by students, but it is a program that very much connects to students. After working with the Center for Student Enrichment and thinking about our Diversity Edge in the Superior Edge program, what we're going to do is make an adjustment to the title, but I think hang in there for a second. I think it makes a lot of sense. And the conversation around this will continue, by the way. No final decision has been made. But there have been a lot of possibilities thrown up there. But right now, the Diversity Edge is going to really just explain what it is, which is the Diverse Perspectives and Experiences Edge. And if you read the requirements for students to earn that edge, that's exactly what it is. It's engaging diverse perspectives and having diverse experiences. So that seems appropriate, but I know Jeff and Rachel Harris and team will continue to have conversations. No kind of final decision on that end. As part of the Northern Experience pillar, I mean, housing and residential life, there's not a lot to say here. Nothing is changing in housing and residential life. We have a few residential halls and areas that are male only. We have one that's female only. We have one that's sort of gender open. All of them are selection in. Like, no one is forced into those housing units. It's an opt-in scenario for students who feel like that's the best fit for them. And so we did a lot of really thorough kind of consideration of this side of things, but decided that that's another area in which we are in compliance. Other Areas that will not see any changes. We got to keep an eye on them. That's why it's kind of in the yellow category. But a lot of our federal and state programs, like the TRIO programs, the McNair Scholar Program, Student Support Services, Upward Bound, really exceptionally valuable programs. I mean, again, all of this aside, programs that don't get enough praise. I have not talked enough about our progress and work in those areas in my time as president. I would suggest we talk a lot more about the great work that happens in those programs. And for now, we see no need to make any adjustments to those programs. That is a set of programs that has kind of been under discussion nationally. I mean, people have had a lot of concern, but we haven't seen anything to raise any need to make adjustments right now on our campus. The King Chavez Parks grant-funded program will continue as well, and it's really not related to race and gender either. It's just about access and opportunity. So I think all of those programs will continue. Our mission and vision statements stay as is. We are thinking about the way to best integrate our diversity statement into our core values. Some of you may know we have inclusion as one of our core values. Inclusion will stay as one of our core values. We need to think about how to accurately describe, again, what inclusion means on this campus. And I'll read this and it'll be available to you. No final decision here, but in the spirit of kind of getting the conversation going. Right now, for inclusion, as a core value, the description would read, Northern is a safe and welcoming place where differences are respected, attributes of a person, and a valuable part of the university experience. We aspire to learn from and encourage each other as global citizens, neighbors, colleagues, and family. We desire to be a role model in embracing diverse points of view, engaging in civil society and governance, protecting human rights, and promoting social justice. Again, I think something that we can continue to work on over the coming months, but that is a working draft. Okay, so that is kind of the area where we felt like no changes right now, but maybe we have some things underway, or at least we need to kind of keep an eye on things. There are 3 areas in which we are going to make adjustments, and that's in addition to those 5 donor-funded scholarships, so we're going to have to adjust the language. One area is in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and then the Student Equity and Engagement Center, the SEEK. 2 really important points to lead with here. The first one is that none of the programs currently offered in our Office of Diversity and Inclusion, or the SEEK, are exclusive by race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. So those programs are in compliance. The changes really reflect kind of the next chapter for those offices in the center, and I think my very firm belief reflect the work that happens there and the support for students and employees in a very positive way. I say this just as a point of reference. I don't at all mean this to kind of lean on this, but Sean Reese Butler, Dr. Butler, and our staff were looking at name changes last summer, long before the executive orders. So I just give you some context as we talk about the name changes to come. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion is going to become the Office of Opportunity, Empowerment, and People, and a new version of the SEEK will be called the Center for Community and Connection. This is pending. The NMU Board of Trustees will have to vote on these changes at their May 2nd meeting, and if the name changes are approved, that's when they would become formalized. We are not losing any staff members. The staff members' jobs descriptions will be rewritten to better reflect the duties that they already have in the center. The ODI's, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion's advisory group, will be renamed and is going to focus on connections among different groups on campus. What's not changing? This is really important. Programs offered through ODI and the SEEK today will continue to be offered. There are no changes in the programming. The programs are not affiliated or exclusive by race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation, and they're open to all students. Importantly, federally recognized days, weeks, and months will continue to be recognized at Northern. There'll be no changes there. They'll be coordinated through the Office of Opportunity, Empowerment, and People. And our very firm belief is that they are allowed under the executive orders. Key annual events will continue, although a few are going to get some adjustments to the name. The Diversity Common Reader Program will continue as is, but will be called the Common Reader Program. The United Conference, which has been part of every academic year since 2008, will continue. we're just going to call it the United Conference. And the programming will certainly reflect, as it has always reflected, an inclusive atmosphere open to all students, all employees, and community members. So the fact that I'm saying these are title changes doesn't mean that there's an attempt to try to skirt around anything. It just means we're in compliance already. That work has never been exclusive. It has always been about bringing different perspectives to the table, and that will continue. I'll stand behind that. NMU strategic plan. There are two changes to the NMU strategic plan. One of them flows from the name changes associated with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Strategy 1.3 in the People Grand Challenge, supporting our people. Strategy 1.3 is based on this idea of establishing an NMU Jedi Hub. And now it will be about establishing the NMU Empowerment Opportunities Dashboard. And this is going to measure the impact of mentorship, career and professional development, and engagement initiatives on retention, graduation, academic and career progression, and belonging, proving insights to strengthen access, opportunity, and empowerment across the university community. An outcome associated with the strategic plan. So this is outcome 1.2, which is around supporting indigenous perspectives, programming, and people on campus and in our community. That outcome used to have a kind of numerical element. The first part of it was about achieving this threshold of 10% of our student body identifying as Native American. And then the rest of the outcome is around successfully strengthening student support programs through the integration of indigenous thinking methodologies that are responsive to the unique social and cultural needs of Native American students. That remains. What we are removing is the quota, is the achievement of 10% of the student body identifying as Native American. That is not because that is not what we could very well see as the result of all of our good work. It's that that has never been front and center. And I would at any point kind of invite folks that have been relating to a major grant application in that area or from the Center for Native American Studies to underscore that. If anything, we have kind of wanted to put the focus back on the process and a little bit less on the outcome there. In terms of the website, we've done a full audit of our website, and I'm getting to the end here because I wanted to wrap up with 20 minutes, so I'm getting to the end. But we did a full audit of our website with respect to references to equity, social equity, inclusion, DEI. And this is really just to clarify again that our websites say what they're meant to say, which is how diversity, equity, and inclusion plays out on this campus. So we had over 850 hits on this through this audit. This is all a work in progress. We've got a small group of people, some in IT, some in our kind of university policy group, who are looking at them. But at this point, we're not making any changes. We are going to continue to work through non-academic departments and see if the language we use on our websites matches what our intent is moving forward, and that work will continue. We're not going to address any references that fall on any academic department pages. No references that relate to faculty, staff, or student bios. What we are interested in is looking at references to things that are out of date. And that's not about anything other than making sure that what we have on our website is current. And I would tell you as president, I've been wanting this to happen for some time. For example, we have lots of references to, programs or people or strategic plans that are a couple of plans in the past. So we are going to make changes in those areas, but that's just about using this as an opportunity to get fully up to date. I think, again, as part of a larger effort, we should make sure that the university website is not used for sort of storage purposes of these cached things. It kind of presents mixed messages to folks who are visiting us from off campus. Okay. So over the summer, what we're going to do, next steps. This is looking ahead now. We've kind of ended the section where we are making changes. We're going to look at titles and selection criteria of events, awards, and programs that NMU offers to see if there's any language that should be adjusted. But as of right now, a lot of the events, the award presentations, we've been to some of them in the last couple of weeks. They've happened, and so there is no revocation of awards or anything like that. We're moving forward so that we can be thoughtful in the approach that we take. The last 3 points, if I haven't underscored this enough. Northern Michigan University is in compliance with the federal executive orders related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The changes that we have highlighted here today are about clarification, making sure that office titles, programs reflect accurately the work that actually happens on this campus today. We do not make decisions or have policies or process that discriminate based on race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. 2, as you all know, the executive orders are in different stages of being challenged or not, and we are going to continue to keep our ear to the ground, our eyes open. You really should know that the amount of time, attention, communication around this has been exceptionally high for the last few months, and it will continue to be exceptionally high moving forward. So TBD, right? We're going to stay in communication on this as we move forward. It is an amazingly fluid moment in American history right now, and that impacts universities. That's our reality. The last point, and I've said this since this topic first arose. NMU's mission and our vision has not changed. It is a multifaceted mission, a multifaceted vision, and so all of our duty, and certainly as your president, my duty is to make sure that we're able to make progress and pursue that mission, as many facets of it as possible every single day. None of that has changed. We're all of us, focused on providing opportunities for our students and our employees. And in true NMU fashion, that means every single student and every single employee. We are not perfect. We do not always succeed. That's always been the case, and it is today. And you know what? We'll not be perfect down the road either. But our intention is to support and provide opportunity and to respect and recognize every single student and employee. So I don't care who you are, if you're in this room or if you're watching or if you're a student in a class right now on our campus, if you're an employee on our campus, as president and as leadership, we recognize you. We see you, we respect you, and we're here for you. That's been the case since 1899, and it'll be the case for our next 125 years. Thank you for bearing with me as we work through that, and I'd be happy to answer questions that you have. Please note, again, this will be an ongoing conversation, so I'm quite certain we'll not have the chance to get to every question today, but this will be an opportunity for us to begin a conversation moving forward beyond today.